Hello, everybody. Welcome back to season number 2, episode 2 of the Fatherhood Barbershop Talk. My name is Dr. D, the Fatherhood practitioner, CEO, and founder of Dad's Doing It. Man, today we are back in the barbershop setting, of course, in a virtual mode, to talk about something I think is very interesting topic. Fatherhood and expression. Is there a line to how much we allow our children to express themselves? I'm kicking around with the fathers I have with me today to introduce themselves. Ms. Santiago, floor is yours.
All right, my name is Ismael Santiago, father of six, grandfather of one.
Perfect. Mr. Johnson, floor is yours.
Derek Johnson, real estate, father of two. Baby boy just turned 9.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Mr. Bennett, the OG of the group, floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Junior Bennett, work at Famous Barbershop, have 3 kids and 4 wonderful grandkids.
Awesome. Awesome. Last but not least, Mr. Larry, also the OG of the group for a
What's
reason.
up?
Go ahead.
What's up, everybody? It's Larry, owner of Famous Barbershop, father of 2 kids, father of your future. You know what I'm talking about?
Father of the future. I love it. I love it. We're missing one person today. Mr. Thomas Hampton couldn't be with us today, but it was actually him that actually sparked this conversation. He shared a photo with all of us in the chat, and it made for an interesting conversation. And we started to think about, is there a line to how much we allow our children to express themselves, right? Is there a limit to how we should do that, or is there a limit to how much they should express themselves? And when I looked at the photo, I thought to myself, there has to be a line here, right? We want our kids to have their own individuality. We want them to have their own uniqueness, but is there a line to it, right? So, Ms. Santiago, I'll start off with you. Is there a line for expression with our children?
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely a line, especially with how they dress or even how, even in some cases, how they talk to us, right? But I would say it's a careful line to be on, and not careful whether it will allow them to be disrespectful or dress in a very provocative way. But I'd want to say the only reason I say and throw a little bit of caution in the air is just saying that I would hate to discourage my kids from being, from their own self-esteem and their own, awareness of themselves, where I have them now second guessing who they are and how they want to be.
It's funny you talk about you don't want to have them second guess themselves and so forth, but I just remember the days of like tough love and what parents used to tell you, like, nah, I don't like that. That's not cool, right?
Yeah.
And I say that because I was raised by my grandparents. God rest both of the soul, my grandmother, my grandfather. And I remember like I used to get these haircuts. I thought they were stylistic. I thought they were cool. I used to walk up to my grandfather and be like, Pops, what do you think about my haircut? He said, I don't like it, but I'm not the one that has to walk around looking like a damn fool either. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I felt any type of way, but I was still expressing myself, and he was obviously expressing himself with the way he thought about my haircut. But I don't remember feeling any type of different type of way, At least
Yeah.
for me, I did it. I didn't go in a room, cry. I didn't do anything. I just say, okay, maybe it is what it is, right?
So,
Uh,
D, something along the lines of that, and I apologize if I cut you off. So, like,
Good.
maybe a few months ago, maybe about a year or so ago, my daughter, who's now 19 years old, um, you know, something along that line where you just said tough love, and I'm very relaxed, I would say, with my kids, and maybe they don't think I'm relaxed, but they really don't understand how tough things can be. But my daughter was wearing a shirt. Her shirt was too low, and the way I looked over at her, like I didn't politely say pull your shirt up. I just looked at her and kind of like snapped a little bit. I was like, pull your shirt up. And then she got moody with me and was like, geez, Dad, you didn't have to talk to me like that, and like you could have just said it in a nice way. And I was like, well, your shirt didn't have to be low like that. You could have just been paying attention to it and pulled it up on your own. And then she kind of said something to me again, and I was like, listen, I'm not one of your friends. I'm your dad, so I don't have to say it to you in a polite way. I could say it to you in like basically say like as a father, pull your shirt up, and that's it.
Hold on, Mr. Dion, because as we know, we are dealing with a kinder, gentler society and kids today, right?
Yeah.
With the kinder, gentler, and I'm seeing that with my own children. Like As much as we try to put down the hammer, Mr. Johnson, like you said, episodes ago, can we really still do that nowadays?
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead, Is.
I was just gonna say the hammer swung, but it lightly hit the nail. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with the hammer as long as you're not beating and abusing and putting holes in the wall.
Mm.
That might not get too much good reception, but do you know what I'm saying? It's part of that tough love. Go ahead, D. Go ahead,
Yeah,
D. Back to you.
it's I I think it's I think it's a tiered, like it's got levels to it. I feel like there's a lot of truth in what you guys are both saying, in my opinion, right? Like I do think tough love is there. And my son always, he always asks me, like, why are you always yelling? Why are you always angry? And he says it half because he's 9 and I'm telling him things that he doesn't want to do, but there's a little bit of truth to that too. It's like, I'm way more firm than my wife, and I yell way more than my wife does. And I use that a lot, and my wife does too. Where we'll both say we're not your friends, we're your parents, right? It's not a and there it's always a follow up to soften that blow, because I don't want them. I want two things to happen at once. I want them to understand that I'm in charge, but I also want them to understand at the same time. It's like it's not a dictatorship, but at the same time it is a dictatorship, right? And so it's a tough line to walk. The levels of what I was saying is like, at least when it comes to clothing, what I found when my daughter was younger, it was more along the line of, you know, you're still figuring things out. And younger, I mean like 3, 4, 5, 6, like when they're starting to gain the independence, but they still, even though they think they don't need the guidance, even more so, like they really do. It's like, that's when we're really hands on, where it's like, no, you're wearing this, like just put it on, and like we're out the door. But as they got older, I think D, to your pops, it's like that's kind of the what I've adopted, right? Even something like, it's really cold out. Well, I don't want to wear a jacket. Bro, it's really, really cold out, and it's raining. Now I don't want to wear a jacket. All right, like I don't want to hear it when we're walking across the street, you haven't even got to school and you're soaked. And that's happened, and he complains, and I'm just like, nope, don't want to hear it. And then it's like, yeah, he usually doesn't skip his jacket the next time, right? So it's those types of blends that you got to work with.
I'm seeing this expression, and I just go back to, right now, my son, who is 13, be 14 actually this month. And like back in our day, I remember I wrote about this too. Back in my day, in your day, except Junior's day, right? It was a do-rag, right? That's what we were. But now these kids are wearing something else. I forget what it's called, Scully or whatever it is, but it's not a do-rag. And like to me, it doesn't look like you should be wearing that out in public. It just doesn't. Right? To
You
me,
talking about the Pooh Shiesty mask they be wearing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. And I don't think you should be wearing that out in public. But again, my grandfather would say I shouldn't be wearing a do-rag out in public. So I think it's just like different generations is also a new, always a newer thing being introduced. So now I could just remember those conversations with my grandfather and be like, now I see what he was talking about with my son. I see it. I see it. I see it. So it's just one of those. I don't know if it's a generational thing, but I'm getting older, a parent thing. I don't know, but I think that's unacceptable in society. I think it is. I
Yeah, I
don't know.
think I think I think you're just getting too old, D.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why the hell all y'all young boys wearing a ski mask in the streets?
skis. Yeah, Nike skis. That's what they call it. Ski man. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just don't think you should be wearing those things in public. I just don't think. I think
Damn
it's
boy got a ski mask on in the library.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I just think again, I think it could be a generational thing, but it just doesn't look right.
It
So
was the
now
same thing, like you said, it was the same thing for us with the do-rags. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I mean, the older generation used to wear the do-rags in the house. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't wear them outside the house. You know what I mean? So I think it's just the same thing.
And I wasn't even always trying to get waves. I wasn't wearing a do rag for the waves. I was just wearing it because I liked the way it looked. Is the reason why I was wearing it. Had nothing to do
Yeah.
with waves. You know, that's how it was for
And,
me.
and in respect to your old man, that sounds even stupider because the do rag was made for you to rock so you can have waves.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. Mr. Benny, you gotta say something, man. This is I'm waiting to hear from you.
Because I used to cut your hair and put that Nike symbol in there.
What kind of
I remember
sneakers you
that
have
shit.
on? What kind of sneakers you have on?
I don't think
Oh,
he
here
had
we
any.
go. Here we go. Here we go.
He came,
Here we
he
go.
came down barefoot with no drones.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
oh,
Here
good.
we
You're never gonna live that one down, do you?
I gotta hear your thoughts.
Um,
Gotta hear your thoughts.
it's like I said when we were talking a couple of days ago that it's parenting now is just it's different. It's different, and I can't blame it on the parents so much because I was thinking about this. There is so many entities in between parenting and the kid. It's hard to get through those. You know what I mean? It's like, how do I let my son? I watched a video the other day. I think I showed it to Larry. Well, I was telling him about it. There was this. I think it was a 9-year-old boy. He looked mulatto, and his sister was 12 years old. They both looked mulatto. And the mother comes in, and she's filming, and all right, time for bed. So the young boy said, "No, I'm not going to bed. I'm playing this game." And the sister in the background, "That's right. I'm 12 years old. You can't tell me what time to go to bed." The mother ended up saying, "Okay, 1 more hour." Now, for me, and like I said, you can call it a generation thing. And we always say, if I said that to my mother or father, I get slapped. And I think it was Larry. They just took our manhood out of, or that video. That video showed took our fatherhood and manhood out. Or Derek, you said that for like the past 30 years, and they don't let us do nothing as parents, as mother and father. They don't let us do it. So we got our parenthood stolen from us because of the way we what we say and treat our kids. I think is infallible. I think it destroys me in a way with the kids, seeing them come into the barbershop say, "No, I want this." I couldn't do that.
Mm.
I could not. And so for my kids to express themselves through their language and the way they talk, there's no line. You just don't do it. That's the line. You don't do it.
You
There's no
know,
saying, "Hey, I'll let you say this, but don't say it too hot." No, no. The kids in your raising, like you said, no dictatorship. I'm not your friend. I'm your father. Okay. You're gonna do what I say, and not to a point where they understand why you're saying it's gonna be my way.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I look at the group that we're on, I get a different tactic as far as, okay, we're gonna do it our way instead of my way. But at the end of it, your way better match my way. You know what I mean? So I think talking different to the kids means a lot. But this generation, like you said, D, is just we've got stolen from our manhood, from our fatherhood. God forbid. I mean, Larry, you told me stories. You go down and something's wrong with G at the high school or Noah, and you had to go down there, and you couldn't believe what they were saying to you. You know what I mean? So it was like, damn, what are these teachers teaching our kids, or the principal? And the teachers and the principals are complaining about us the way we raise our kids, and you can't teach them the way you should. So there's a fine line between my kids and my grandkids where I'll say, no. Dad, grandpa. After that, you figure it out. There's no line for me. That's it.
I don't. It's funny you brought up a couple of different points, and like I don't know. Like growing up, I was raised by my grandparents, and I was scared of my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Like grandfather, like I was just scared of him. Like I didn't never wanted to, like I was never disrespectful around my grandparents. I mean, I'm not a disrespectful person anyway, but like to me, my grandfather symbolized like I don't want to like be disrespectful to him, other than just expressing myself for the haircut. Like I wasn't one of those kids that will like want to talk back and do that. I was scared of my grandfather. I was also scared of my aunt. You know, I know she listened to us. Aunt Shirley, I was scared of you. Uncle Wilford, I was scared of you. Right? It was like a fear factor, I think that was healthy for me. I don't know. You know, Derek, I remember you talking about like how your father, you know, it was like he always had the ace, you know, ace in the back pocket, which was discipline,
Yeah.
but like a different form of discipline. So I think that like get kids in line quickly,
Yeah.
right? So you can express yourself with what you wear, but you're not going to express yourself with what you say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And it's funny because when I was bringing this topic up to my wife, who follows us, and I just said fatherhood and expressionism or expressing, her first thought was how the kids talk, towards us. That was like, when the term expression was brought up, that was her first thought. And so she was talking about sort of, what this group was just mentioning for the past few minutes of like when to draw the line of um, being allowed to speak your mind, and when to put the hammer down. And my wife and I are very different in that regard. We both have the same firm upbringing, but I really love the anecdote about the father who smoked, and the two kids, his two kids. I'm going to ruin it, but basically, a father smoked all his life and died from lung cancer. He had one son who smokes. He had one son who didn't. And when asked, the son who smoked said, "I smoked because my father smoked." And the son who didn't smoke said, "I don't smoke because my father smoked." Right. And so when it comes to how strict and how firm we are, I'm firm because my father was firm. My wife is not firm. Let me take that back. She is firm, but my wife is more softer.
You want to get in trouble, Mr. You want to get in trouble. You about
Well,
to get in
yeah.
trouble.
So she is firm, but like, we try to blend. We're like a Venn diagram, right? We try to hit that middle, but she's on the softer side. I'm on the firmer side. But I say all this because like, um, I honestly think, and I don't know if it's good or bad. I think I don't want my kids to be afraid of me, because at the end of the day, it's like I was afraid of my father as well for the most part, but I couldn't say anything, right? Like, so, and so, yeah, I want the firmness and the respect, but I also want the opportunity for them to know it's a spot where they can come talk to me. And that's a really hard line to blend. And so it's going to be back and forth, and that's going to be the internal struggle. However, I'm okay if they're a little bit afraid of me. Like and I told my wife that, because it's like, you know, I've outside of like, grabbing an ear, or like grabbing an arm and putting them upstairs. Like, I've never like hit my kids ever, right? And so I know that they're not worried about like that physical contact, but my voice is loud, and I'm a lot bigger and taller than both of them, right? And so there still is that size fear that's there, and I try not to implement that. But there are times where we're a deeper voice than them, and 3.5 feet over them has worked, and I don't like relying on it. But from my perspective, it's handy to have, at least in my head, to sort of keep them in line. Even though I don't want to keep them in line, I still want to keep them in line, right? Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense. And like when I said like scared, I was scared of like I didn't want to do anything wrong from the
Good boy.
perspective. I didn't want to like that's what I mean by like scared,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to like disappoint them to a level where like it was them being upset with me from that perspective, right? But then I also like part of my experience I spent as a on a campus as a police officer, and I would arrest these college kids, and when it came time for them to call their parents, it was like what I saw was like split 50-50. Some would, but then some would be like, no, I just can't call my father. I can't call my mother. Like I just can't do it. I just can't. So I would never want my kids to not want to call me. But I do want them to know that they can call me, but dad's gonna be upset. Like
Yeah.
they have to
But
make the I want
you
them
know
to make
what's taking what's taking that away from us too? If
what
they like you says, you want them to come to you. But now, with that tablet or phone in their hand, they're going to call their friend or text their friend saying, my fucking dad's an asshole. He says, I got to do this and this. Well, just tell your dad this, just to freaking shake your head so they stop talking. I didn't have that option. Didn't have that option to get on TikTok or Zoom or whatever, Snapchat and say, my fucking dad's an asshole. My mother's a bitch. And they'll say it just like that. They'll say it just like that. Trust me. 9, 10, 8 years old, they say it like that now. God forbid we'd ever say that, but it's hard. They've taken that away from parents. Now the technology coming up, honest to God, technology. God damn, you don't know how many times me and Larry cutting hair, the first thing we see is the phone. It's what kind of haircut they want. Parents don't even know what kind of haircut. Oh, I don't know what that is. We just found pictures. So what if there were no pictures? What do? You rely on the parents. But they don't do that no more because it's taken over our job as being a parent from the technology, the computers, the phones, everything. And by the time we talk to them, they're gonna get all this information from their local friends. Just shake your head and tell your dad, okay, I'll do better. And then call me when you're done doing it. That's what it is
you
now.
know.
So not only do we got to find that fine line, for me, there is no line. Now we got to find out how to, as a mother or father, how to get over their friendship with their friends and listen to us and not them. That's the challenge.
You know what, Junior, as you're talking about that, like, I think my son, who's again going to be 14 this morning, I think like, we gave him a phone. He was like, I think probably like 11 or 12 or something like that. But it was mainly because when he was playing basketball, like you need it, so we can get a hold of him, like if
Yep.
something was to happen. And like, I kind of regret that. I kind of regret giving him a phone and giving my daughter a phone as well. My youngest daughter. I regret because they're glued to it all the time. They really are
Mhm.
glued to it. You're worried about the influences that they're getting through the phone, and
That's
and I, I
exactly.
and I worry about that. Really do worry about that.
Yeah.
So those are things I just have to continue. Me and my wife continue to have to be mindful about. But I do worry about it, because there's some expression that they're getting from their friends that I'm not hearing all the way that will come out later on. So I am kind of worried about that. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that. You know.
And it's
Yeah.
worrisome because now you got kids that are, and I don't watch it all the time. It'll pop up. I watch TikTok, not all day. I watch it, and you'll see some pedophiles meeting little kids at Walmart at their 13 years old. 13. Where do we come in as a
Yeah.
parent? And this is why I'm from. Yes, I gave my kids phones when they had it. Yes, I did. So I fall in underneath that line like everybody else. You know what I mean? But there's some things that kids hide that we hide from them. You know what I mean? How many times you go in a room and you're trying to get busy with your wife, but the kids are in the other room? You're trying to hide it. You know what I mean? Honest to God, that's the way I can put it. But geez, I mean, now they're hiding stuff from us
Hey,
that
that's
we
not
gotta
laughing.
find. For
Yeah.
real. They're hiding stuff from us that we got to find. And if we find it, what do? Scold them because it's on the phone? But dad, it's right here. Yeah, but I don't. And then we get mad. And that's when they get to their friends again, a text message. My dad's a fucking. I'm telling you, it happens. That's our fight. That's my thing with the expression. That's our fight. Our expression should be the fine line between them telling their friends about us and trying to figure out how to control that. It's tough, man. It is fucking tough. Sorry, excuse my language.
I don't think we
Larry,
can control it, like, but I agree, like Junior, with what you're saying. It's a battle to try, because I mean, like, I don't know about y'all. I did a pretty good job of talking smack about my parents without a phone to my friends. Um, but it is easier, and I think overall that's a huge problem that we're all having. I know that I'm having it in my house is trying to just mitigate tech usage in general, right? And that spider webs into all facets of their life. So it is hard.
Mhm.
I agree, and it's a pain because I feel that you know because speaking just for me, like I'm trying to be super diligent on that because it is potentially dangerous for a kid to have a computer in their pocket. So now I got to work harder, right? And that's a pain for me because, life is tough as it is already, in 2025, and it's just, you're throwing one more thing. So, I think the silver lining is that it hopefully, and Brooklyn's only in sixth grade, and I know that there are going to be more challenges, but you know knock on wood, so far kind of so good, you know what I mean? Because like I know that she's exposed to more things with like the group chats and things of that nature. So the only thing I can do is monitor from afar and hope she's picking the right type of friends. But I think our parents were saying the same thing about us, right? Like, I hope they're not hanging around with knuckleheads. But, sometimes you're the knucklehead, sometimes the knuckleheads float into our lives, So I, I think that it's more intensified now because of technology. And I do think it is harder, Junior, like 100%. I think it is harder, but I think the fight's worth it. You know what I mean?
Oh
And,
yeah, yeah.
it's,
You know, I think again we got a hard stop coming up very soon. Larry, is there a line? Is there a limit to the expression? And then Mr. Diago, we kick it off to you as well. Is there a limit to the expression?
Yeah, there is. I think it's pretty universal as long as it's like not disrespectful or shameful, you know. I guess it's okay. But you also got to look at the parents. The parents are the ones buying these clothes. So, excuse me. How can I say uh, something is unacceptable, right, to wear if I bought it for you? You know what I mean? So I think it all starts there, and it starts, you know what I mean, in the beginning stages when 4 or 5 years old, when they start to grow into their independence. But at the same time, you're not dressing your daughter revealing or things to that nature at a young age to when they grow up at 9, 10 years old, they have their own style based off of what they've been introduced to, really. Some of that, yeah, can be blamed on entertainment. You know what I mean? The more and more you look at these award shows, the less and less these women are dressing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? What are we showing our daughters and stuff? You know what I mean? What are we showing our sons? You know, how to pick a lady. You know what I mean? It's going to be hard to pick a lady when they're all naked. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be hard to show my daughter how to dress and present herself like a woman when all these highly influential women are out there butt naked or cover their privates with a piece of meat, piece of steak. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it just really it starts with us as parents, not even as fathers, as parents, the mothers too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it starts with us, and I guess it's a fine line because in some people's minds, that photo that you know with the little girl, that shit is okay with some of them. You know what I mean? So I don't know. To me, there's a line. The line is, like I said, if you're not disrespectful, it's not shameful, or the most important thing, you're not drawing any unwanted attention. You know what I'm saying? You said earlier about the pedophiles meeting up with 13-year-olds. You're doing half the job for them, dressing your kids up the way you're dressing. You know what I'm saying? So again, I just believe that it's all on us. There's a line, and just the line is as long as it doesn't create a dangerous situation for anybody.
But Santiago, where's that line, sir?
I say the line moves often, probably. Even though I say it's a fine line, but the line moves depending on the situation. And to just kind of touch base on what Junior was saying with the technology, not only that, if you really think about it, right, the amount of time that's spent on a device, the amount of time that these kids are in school, the amount of time they're at sporting events that we're not at, other than like sporting events that we're at, the amount of time that we have that the kids are actually with us, where we actually get to influence their morals and values and how we present ourselves and being an example for them, is very, very small window compared to all these other um, places that they're at. The school gets them for 6 to 8 hours a day, if not longer, if they got sporting events. We're at work. Well, myself, I'm at work anywhere between 9 to 12 hours a day. It's sometimes less than that, but then I'm home. So sometimes it feels like literally I get to cook dinner for my kids, speak to them briefly at the dinner table, ask them how their day went, and everything, and hear from them. And then other than that, they want to be on their devices and or upstairs in their room, again, maybe not on their cell phone, but on their video games, and they're communicating with their friends that way, and everything. So it's like, again, to Junior's point, it's that technology. We need to watch that, and then again, what they're learning in the schools as well too, that they're being indoctrinated with whatever the agenda is of the school. So that fine line, I would say, changes often.
Yeah.
And then we just got to be, pretty much the moral compass for them, to make sure we're guiding them in the right direction and make sure we're being a good example for them. Something like, I don't remember talking smack about my mom, and maybe I did, but to how Junior was saying, where some of these kids are like, my mom is being this, my dad is being that. I remember being mad at my mom, but never did I call her out her name. And even to this day, I very much try not to call women out their name or anything. I try, it's happened. We all get angry and say things we don't want to say, but for the most part, I don't say those things, or do those things, because I got sons and I got daughters, and I feel like if some stranger called my daughters these things, I'm gonna be upset. Whether it's their boyfriend or their husband, I'm going to handle it, or want to handle it in a certain way. So I make it myself be the example, where I hope, okay, if I don't allow this stuff, if I don't allow this stuff to happen, if I don't conduct myself in this way, then maybe that's what my kids understand. And I do feel that I have some very respectful kids that understand where the line is at.
So in closing, everybody know, again, I want to say thank you for tuning in to us. I think in closing is that we determine where that line is. And I always say begin with the end in mind. What do you want your child to do towards the end, whatever that end may be, right? And begin with the end in mind, and making sure that we are doing our part to make sure we are raising some productive children that are going to go out in the world and do their thing, right? It's kind of the way that I see it. Thank you for tuning in to us. We'll see you again very soon in episode number 3. Take care, everybody.